everyone. Welcome to Tales from the Casino Pit. This is a podcast about stories in the casino industry. And now, here are your hosts, Jay, John, and Mike.
Well, hello. Welcome, everybody, to our podcast. And today, we have an early episode. It is a 6:30 until 8 p.m. episode because we have a hockey game tonight, and we're not going to miss it. Right, Danny?
Yeah.
My name is Jay. Hello, welcome, everybody, from the Casino Industry Canada group. Welcome, everyone, from the Facebook group, and welcome to everyone that is on the Casino Dealer J YouTube channel. And this podcast is being cast on Spotify and iTunes. So my co-host, as always, is...
Hey, everybody, it's John. Thanks for coming on here and spending a Wednesday evening or whatever it is you listen to us. Subscribe to this. I mean, especially some of the stuff that Jay does. He's doing some really cool stuff if you're interested in casinos. And he does some funky stuff, and it's kind of fun. So if you've got nothing else to do or better to do, you probably haven't. But anyway, so come and hang out with us.
I'm going to have to name one of those segments Jay's Funky Stuff. So yeah, thanks, John.
Exactly.
New category. This podcast.
You may not you may not want to do that because you'd be like, hashtag Jay's Funky Stuff. You'd be like, sounds a bit nasty.
I'm getting all these private messages. It's like, so you were mentioning some funky stuff?
Exactly. I was expecting something completely different.
So this podcast also features our very own.
Hey, everybody. I'm Danielle. Welcome to Wednesdays, and let's have some fun.
Awesome. You sound great. You sound awesome. Crystal clear. Looks good. All right. Perfect. Okay. We do have our special guests today. I'm super excited because I wasn't on the last time that we had these guests. And they're very special in my heart. So first off, hello. Hi, Joey. Long time no chat. Hey, yup. All right. Nice to see you on. You should go to bed. It's super early. You know that we're on Spotify and iTunes. You can always watch us later. So, all right. Without further ado, our special guests today are Alex and Michelle Werkman. Welcome.
Hi, guys.
So how's it going? How are you guys doing?
Good.
Fantastic.
It's golf season, so Alex is super happy.
That is so cool. I am so happy to have you guys on for, I know you were on the last season, but this is our first real season. Even though it's our second, it's hard to explain. We always say that. But I'm so happy to have you guys on. You guys have worked at a lot of places. You've done so much in the industry. For the people that don't know, could you actually give a rundown of your casino experience and your adventures? And then we'll kind of elaborate a little more down, throughout the episode here. But
Sure. So I started in '97 at Palace, and now Starlight, I believe, at the mall in Edmonton. And I dealt there for just under 5 years. Well, I'm housed and pitted, and then I went to Yellowhead, and I was there for another 4 years or so. I did a part-time stint at River Cree when I was working full-time out the industry. And we both went on, not the cruise ships traditionally, like most people do, but we did some poker cruises with a company called Card Player Cruises, where you just go 1 week at a time. We did that a little bit too. And Alex and I met in the industry at Palace and then got married when we were at Yellowhead. And now we've been almost 18 and a half years married. Yeah. What about you?
I started at Palace in 99. Well, I started as a cleanup person first, and then I became a dealer. And then I bounced around to every casino, working as basically a poker houseman, dealer / almost poker manager a couple times. But That never panned out. Yeah, basically in the casinos, and have dealt to quite a few of the big names you can recognize in poker. We actually just came across a article that Michelle wrote in Canadian Poker Player. I don't know if you guys know the magazine, but Michelle had wrote an article in it, and we came across it, and it was one of the times when I was dealing, and I'll happily tell that story later if we can. So, yeah.
I'm really glad you both came back on, because it was so much fun. You had so many cool stories the last time you was on, and I'm not sure if you saw it. Like, the title of the podcast is A Perfect Pair. And of all the people I've worked with in casinos, especially in Edmonton, I don't think there's a better suited couple than you and Alex, to be honest, Michelle. I just think you're a great couple. You're so fun. And I just wanted to say that before we set it off. So thanks for coming on.
That's such a nice thing to say, John. Thank you so much.
Yes, thank you
We
so much.
think so too.
Yeah. we kind of fit together.
I really do want to talk about that article. I mean, I do remember you writing it. I think that was pretty cool. For someone that loves reading, and at the time I had this unhealthy obsession with poker, and I loved it so much because it was booming. And even before that, there was just nonstop games. And I just remember, first off, before we get to the article, I just remember how good you guys were as players. You guys were incredible players. And just watching you play and dealing to you and just playing with you guys, it was just, I don't know, it was something that was kind of inspiring. So I kind of figured that you guys were going to progress at some point throughout, leaning more towards poker than anything. But I know you guys are excellent dealers as well. I'm going to actually bring that up too. But let's get back to the article. How was that? Like, how did that come about? And how was the creative process in it, Michelle? And how did you end up getting everything put up there? I know it probably wasn't easy. So,
So I'm going to be really digging into my memory here. So I wrote that article in 2004, and I think that magazine was still pretty new at the time.
Yeah.
And I don't remember who we knew that was involved with like editing it or putting it together.
Kellner, Chris Kellner. He's big in the Canadian poker tour industry. He was part of it, and then also because we knew we were fairly well connected with Card Player Cruises and Card Player Magazine, and they had mentioned it because it was kind of a spin-off of the Card Player Magazine, that it was the Canadian Poker Player Magazine or the Canadian Card Player Magazine or whatever it was. So they did a spin-off of it, and there was somebody, I can't remember exactly who it was, but I think it had to do with us knowing the Card Player Cruise people that got us onto, just doing an article for it. And Michelle wrote a 2.5-page article basically about like poker and one of the hands that I had dealt on the cruise. That was unbelievable. But I'll explain that story after when she finished.
I wish I remember it better, to be like, I don't really remember a lot of detail about how it came about, but I think it was a little bit of kismet in the timing, because it was not that long after we got back from that cruise that this kind of opportunity presented itself. And it's not like I'm a writer, I'm comfortable writing, but it's not something I kind of aspired or thought about doing. And so I just wrote about our experience on the ship and tried to pick out some things that I found interesting. Like, that was our first experience with a lot of big poker names. So I tried to pick out some key stuff to kind of tell stories in the article. And yeah, that's how that came about. But I wish I remembered more detail. I just don't. It was 17 years ago.
Well, I think that's an amazing reread. I don't know. I'm so impressed. I'd have that framed in my wall. I think it's an accomplishment. I know a lot of people are like, it's really difficult to kind of get the words that you want to say out, right? And just kind of convey it. I read articles, and I love poker. I mean, it's amazing. It's incredible. It's something that's near and dear to my heart. I'll kind of explain a little more after that. And you guys have always been a part of that. And, you've always helped me with my poker journey, even though you guys might not know that. But let me explain that in a bit here. Sorry, before we move on, let us bring in Mr. Playoff Ready, podcast late, Mike.
Oh, he just
Hey
started.
guys.
Hey, Mike.
Hey.
Yeah.
6:30 really sneaks up on you. Sorry, guys.
Well, when you're into 8, it can really sneak up on you.
Okay, so in talking about poker, my only question, before we kind of go to the general questions and whatnot, I really want to get your guys' opinion on this. And this is the only serious question I'm going to ask. And then after that, we'll fool around and mess around. But how do you guys feel like the state of poker is right now? Do you think that it's better or worse? Is there anything that needs to be done in order to kind of improve it? Or is this just the regular ebbs and flows of a casino game? Because like how craps can be like the most popular game and then now it's not. You can always have that with a lot of the different games, but poker is usually driven by a lot of talent and skill. What is your opinion on that?
Well, for me, I believe No Limit Hold'em has kind of almost ruined the game, only because it's not played properly in any casino unless you're playing in high limit games. If you want to get down into a real no limit game, if you sit down with, $10, $15, $20, $30,000, that's a real no limit game. That's because then a bet means something. But when you sit down into a game that has a capped bet or a capped buy-in of $300 to $500, it really limits your ability to make a bet actually mean something. I mean, I grew up on limit poker, and that was my staple. And limit poker is by far the absolute. For me, it's a way better game than no limit. Sure, you can't win as much, but you can make a bet mean something in limit poker rather than, and it could be a $3 and $6 game. You've been playing 3-6, Hold'em. It's still a $6 bet that means something. It's not a all in pre-flop. The guy's like, I have 8-9 of clubs. I'm going to call with my $70 against your $350. So I think the game has changed quite a bit, and people don't understand how to play it. When it first came out in 2006, when Moneymaker won the main event and No Limit became such a big thing, it was different. People didn't understand the game as much. Now it's become just basically a crapshoot. People don't really understand the game as much. You sit down with somebody with 10, 15, 20, 30,000, they're not going to make the same plays that they will when they have $100 or $200 for 100 times your big blind, which is in a 1-2 game is $200. That's nothing in the game when it comes down to it. When you're playing for me, poker has so much to do with betting. And I mean, Mike, Jaylee, you may have seen this before when I played, Omaha. I didn't look at my cards half the time. I didn't need to because I didn't care. I looked at the person. If they had something, they're going to be making a reaction. If they don't, bet. And a bet means something. Try that in pot limit Omaha. It makes it so much different. Or you try no limit Omaha, you can't protect your hand.
So you're talking more like locally or smaller kind of so for me, I'm a bit removed, right? So I don't know how comfortable I am having this grand, opinion because I'm not as involved with poker as I used to be, right? So but what I've noticed in poker and more looking at TV and tournaments and what that progression on the professional side is, it's tough to get into. The smartest people are playing poker, right? It's all about math, right? When we were playing back in the day, you could read a book, learn a little bit, and do some damage, right? You could do, especially locally, but even you could build something even online. But now, there's geniuses playing poker on a consistent basis, people who are really good at math, and it's all about math. And so it's a lot harder. It takes a lot more work to make a career, a pro career, strong career out of it. Not so much at the lower levels, but you're talking about pro status. It's just way more than it used to be back in our day.
It's become more of a analytical game than when we played, because it for one, the stakes are so much more too. When you're sitting down in a no limit game rather than a 4-8, 12, 12-24, 8-16, 9-18, 10-20, 20-40, whatever. That game was way different than you're sitting down with, even in a 2-5 no limit game when you're sitting down with $1,000. That's a way bigger difference with mathematical and analytics for people. And you get it. Anybody that can figure out odds is going to be a better poker player than the average bear, basically. So the game has changed, but I think it's changed. I just wish limit was more prevalent than.
Yeah, I do miss limit. I really liked playing limit poker.
Mhm.
I definitely understand why no limit is so big. But yeah, that's how we learned, right?
Yeah.
So I do miss it. And even now, if I play recreationally, I'd rather play limit because I know my stack will last a little bit longer. If I'm only playing once in a while, if you're playing all the time, then you get good at the game, right? And it's just part of the swings. But if I'm gonna play like once a year or twice a year, I'd rather play limit and not lose my stack in the end.
One of the things that I never, I didn't enjoy about poker is there was a lot more thinking involved. And when I was gambling, I didn't want to think. So I didn't want to play games that would involve poker, like you say, pot odds and like I was like, man, that seems like it's a lot of work, right? And I was like, man, a lot of times I kind of wanted to drink. Like I avoided any games where I needed to think, like blackjack and poker. Craps, you don't think. You just I'll just put it there. Roulette, you don't think. You just put it there. Sick book, you just put it there. You know what I mean? I couldn't play. Because I always found it like gambling to me was a distraction. It's like, I'll go out and just have some fun and get distracted. I didn't want to go out and think. It was like, it seems like work, right?
It does consume your brain quite a bit, and like it's one of the things that causes burnout for some people, right? Like poker, when I was in university, I played poker on the side part-time, right? While I was working at the casino, and I was tracking my hourly wage, like how much I was making playing poker. Like I made my tuition playing poker, and that's it. Like that was the end of my pro career. Like I was after that. But like tracking your hourly wage and poker is a ton of discipline. You can have the best poker player and they go nowhere because they don't have the discipline to take the loss and to leave a bad game or to, or know when to stay in a game, all that. And who I learned that from, and I think I said this last time I was on, was Jeff O'Donnell. Like that's who I learned from the discipline side of the game.
Yep.
If I hadn't learned that from him, I don't know, like if I would have, not that I did anything major, but but what happened was I did great for a while, made my tuition, but after 6 months, I hated the game. Like I just wasn't fun. Like it was so, like you said, it's so much work, and that's not for everybody, right? Like some guys, it's their passion, but
No.
yeah.
Yeah, that's why I could never play. I have no patience. I don't have any time to deal with the shenanigans of it. Players talking crap to each other and dealing with that. I just couldn't do it.
You could not play with Alex.
Yeah,
Alex was more of a trash talker than a laugh guy.
For me, it was, I completely understood the mathematics behind it, but my goal was getting your. That was it. I didn't care what it was. Whose dog is that?
Oh, sorry, that's mine.
Yeah, for me, it was literally, I loved, thanks, John. I loved getting into people's heads. And that was I completely understood when to call for a flush draw, for a straight inside. But for me, it was if I put you on tilt and you're gunning for me, and then I don't have to worry about it because you're just going to shoot all your money away. And that was it. It was a psychological game for me.
Yeah,
you were the best at that.
Psychological
100%.
warfare for sure.
Thanks, buddy.
Yeah.
I remember, I think we played, all of us played a little before Moneymaker, right? We'd go after work, we'd go to Yellowhead or Argyle or something like that and just have fun playing 3-6, right? It wasn't really a mental game or, you're not doing mathematics and mental gymnastics in your head trying to figure out what the other guy has. You're just kind of like, all right, we're going to play for fun and hopefully win some money or tournaments or just more for fun, right? So yeah, when it changed after Moneymaker and everything became more serious and the hands, the no limit increased and everything was becoming more analytical. That's when I can't remember last time I played a poker game other than a friendly house tournament for $10 in years.
Yeah.
Yep.
So, excuse me. So, Roxanne, definitely think limit poker makes skill plays for sure. Hated the 1-2 no limit games that took over.
Yeah. I hated them when they first came, for sure. And for me at that time, I was kind of on my way out of playing. So I never really got heavy into No Limit. Did you play a lot of No Limit?
Yeah, I played some. For me, it was, I knew the difference. Yeah, I preferred pot limit. Like Omaha has always been my game. Like Omaha PLO is like, please, anytime, let's play 1-2. Let's play any limit. I don't care. Let's play that. That's my bread and butter. But when it came down to it, No Limit to me, I understood it. The problem was that I played No Limit almost like limit. So I would make, I tried to trap people a lot of times, and yeah, that's okay in low limit, but you shouldn't always do it. So I wouldn't raise big bets with, quality hands because I just wanted to trap. And that's not always the best to do when you're playing in a no limit game when someone calls you with 8-9 offsuit or 5-7 offsuit, which is the best in poker, by the way.
Roxanne had another comment. She said dealing to Alex was always entertaining and fun.
It was either entertaining and fun or super annoying.
One of the
two. There's no in between.
So Danny, how is the game? Because I know you're still involved, even though we're closed. I understand that, but you were on the floor there and you were working.
Yeah.
How is the game in Calgary?
Well, we have a lot of no limit games. We just actually introduced a limit hold'em, but we only open at like 2 a.m. because one of the other casinos in Calgary started closing their poker room at 2 a.m. So then they would all fly over to us because we said we would open it for them if they called ahead of time, so that way they could ask some more dealers to stay late. We didn't really have any training, but you don't really need very much training to do it. But I don't know the game. There's like lots of games. We have 10 tables total, and a lot of the time we have like 6 games going of 1-2 no limit, and then like a couple games of 1-2-5 PLO, and then maybe one game of like 5-10 limit hold'em.
Oh, see?
Yeah. I always tried my best to get on 1-2-5 because otherwise I get so tired during my graveyard shifts. Like it's just such a mindless game to deal. I was always exhausted if I was stuck on it. So bribed my way through it with the poker manager or whoever's their houseman.
I can fall asleep dealing poker, and they have a couple times. They're all mindless. It doesn't matter what. Even if you're playing a pot limit game, I think I fall asleep during that, and then I wake you up, you're like, yeah, $1,347.
That is awesome. Just a quick. I don't know who this is though, but can't be there. But hello to Michelle and Alex from the casino industry.
Oh, I checked. It's Wyatt.
Oh, Wyatt.
Oh,
nice.
Wyatt's saying hi to you guys.
Wait, which Wyatt?
No, wait, which Wyatt?
Okay, Alex. Alex is like. "Ah." So will that change depending on who the Wyatt was? You're like, you're like, you're like, if it's the one you dislike, you're like, if it's like the one you like, you're like, now I just don't want to tell you because it's more fun not to tell you because you'll be like, oh my God, I just might have peed off my friend.
So Wyatt McNabb, who worked at Palace, I think since the beginning, like what I didn't say at the beginning was my mom worked at Palace when it opened in 1990, I think. And so that's how I even knew to try the casino industry. And I think Wyatt started there, if not then, not long after. And right around there.
Yeah.
And so I knew him, like I met him as a child, right, before I ever worked in the casino. And then the other Wyatt, I don't know his last name. Miller.
Yeah.
Alex and him have a thing. That's
we
what.
We have a game. And I will happily explain our finger game. Because winning at this game.
Well, to let you know, it wasn't finger game out, which sounds quite disturbing, to be honest. And you're like, oh, why have a finger game? I'm like, I don't know. Just no. This is not the platform for your finger game. There's other avenues for that. It's Wyatt McNabb. He's the one who says like, hi.
Hey Wyatt, no finger you. Not bad.
But to be honest, I'm really curious about that finger game. So just so you know.
Okay, I am absolutely going to tell you now, just because. Okay, so me and Wyatt have a game that anytime we see each other, we have to give each other the finger first. And I have mastered the game. We were driving down Yellowhead one time. Okay, I texted him while I was driving beside him, look left. And as he looked left, I had my middle finger up, and I'm like, I didn't text while I was driving. No, I didn't do that. There's been times he'll be walking by my pit, and I'll be like, and of course he looks when we do that, of course, and I'll stick my finger up at him, and he hates it. But yeah, Wyatt Miller, we have a game. It's whoever can give him the finger first, and that's the game. I have gotten people out of the country to send pictures to Wyatt of them sticking up their middle finger. Just be like, hey, guess what? This is Alex.
That's hilarious. Oh my God. Just a couple more comments. Danielle, your fan club again. You have Chris saying that's a beautiful jersey. Forget football. We might make the playoffs.
Might.
We'll just
There's a shot.
leave that there.
So what's the back? They said you're in Calgary, but you have a Vancouver jersey on. Are you from Vancouver? Are you from BC?
Well, half my family is, but Jay actually sent me this jersey.
You had a Flames jersey before, okay? Like,
yeah, I didn't like the Flames jersey.
Yeah, Jay said I'm banned from wearing it. So
yeah.
That's fair.
Okay, so Roxanne says, I agree with falling asleep dealing. You pretty much knew who was going to win the hand and what it was. Yeah. So. Autopilot.
Overnights were the toughest, man. You had some rough end of shift there, especially when you end up with the morning game with the guys you're playing like full chop.
oh yeah.
Full chop.
There's 6 rocks at the table and 1 drunk guy, and he's like, raise, raise. Like, I'll take 50 cents every hand and just go to sleep.
I just want to ask Mike, how was your experience dealing late night? Because you were the only person in history to do a triple shift there.
Yeah.
Correct? Yeah.
Yeah. It worked out. I dealt late night, and one of our former pit managers was coming in this morning, and they were short and a bunch of sick calls or something, and she asked me to stay for a little bit during the day. They tried to get somebody in. Anyways, day shift went to 7 o'clock, and another pit manager came. Hey, we're short tonight. Do you want to stay? So I stayed. And that was about 11 o'clock at night. And Pat came up, and she's like, how long have you been working for? Like, close to 22 hours now. So,
Oh my God.
like, go home. But I love dealing late night. Michelle and I dealt late night a couple times together, and it was awesome.
Late night was pretty awesome.
Yeah.
I remember working a ship with you, Mike. Remember when they used to have, they had the poker dealers, and they'd send them back to the break when they across kind of like the mall when we used to be in the theater.
I remember.
Like the staff room was in the theater, and if there was a game, they would call the dealer over. And Mike had been partying the night before and basically came straight into work, no sleep, nothing, came straight into work because he's like, oh, I'm in poker, I know, I'm gonna just whatever. He came in, went straight in there. and he fell asleep. And I remember, I think I was on a double, and somebody woke him up, and it was like after his shift has ended, he hadn't even gone in it at all, and he was like, "What time is it?" And they were like, "Oh, it's like 8 o'clock." He goes, "I finished work an hour ago," and he was so mad. He was like, "Oh my god!" I'd be like, "What? You slept 7 hours and got paid for it," and he's mad because he slept over his time. He could have gone home.
I had a note
for an hour.
Yeah.
Well, I know. I had a note waiting for me saying we're down at Elephant Castle when you wake up. So
That is so cool. So cool. Yeah, Roxanne says, one more comment here. Sleeping in the chair in the back room on breaks during late nights. Yeah, I fell asleep. I remember that. Everyone, right? I fell asleep once.
Yeah, we have like these chairs, like these like couches up in the break room, and I go upstairs and I set a timer on my phone for 12 minutes and put like my apron over my eyes, and then everyone's just looking around because my alarm's going off, and I get up, put my apron back on, go back down and deal. Every break during my whole 8 hours, I'm just break 15 minutes.
So Danny, sorry, I just wanted to bring this up. Was it this apron that you were wearing over your face?
No, ours don't look like that anymore. Ours say pure now.
Don't ask me how I got this Casino Calgary apron.
That apron is so short. It's like this big.
Yeah, I know, hey?
Ours are so long, we have to fold them down like a million times. Otherwise, they go down to our knees.
I'm wearing this one right now. All right, cool. Yeah, no, go ahead, John. Sorry.
I want Alex to tell it the story about going back to the article, because he said, "Oh, I'll tell you later." And now I'm like, "Come on, we had the story about the finger. Now we need the story about what was in the article."
Okay, so this is by far my most absolutely memorable, funnest, greatest poker story I could ever imagine telling and living.
You're over-promising.
Shush. This was on one of our poker cruises, and so we were coming back into port, and we were doing
last night.
Yeah, it was the last night of the cruise, which was a Party Poker Million, and we were dealing on there was a big game going, which is a 25-50. They were playing 25-50 no limit hold'em, and at that time, Daniel Negreanu was playing Phil Hellmuth's discards. And so Phil Hellmuth would fold, and Daniel would look at it, and he'd say, "Oh, I'm going to raise this hand," and he would play the hand. And he ends up winning like a $15,000 or $17,000 pot against, I want to say it was either Prahlad Freeman or someone, I can't remember. But they ended up playing for a little bit, and then they said, "Okay, well, we're shutting down this table, so we're going to shut this game down." And they said, "Well, can we borrow the chips?" And the runner, like the people that were running the casino, were like, "Yeah, no problem." So we all decided to pick up all of those chips, which was probably about $50,000 to $150,000 in chips, in a 25-50 no limit game, and we go over and we play on a marble table in a library.
It was in the back room. Like, just to set the scene a little bit more, the poker room is in the dining room. So they take half the dining room, the upper floor of the dining room, and make it the poker room.
Yeah.
So there's like, I don't know, 40 tables
At
in
least
there.
40 tables in there.
And so the dealers all break down the room. Like, we're all part of the crew. And so the room's getting broken down behind them. And then they're the last table left. And they're like, "Well, we still want to play." And so they end up in a room not far from the dining room. And it was a library, I guess.
Yeah.
And it was like a small little, not much bigger than a like double cabin kind of thing.
Yeah. So we end up going in there, and they requested that me and two other dealers come over and help and just sit there and deal. And they're like, "We'll pay you for it, blah, blah, blah." And we're like, "All right, that's cool." So we go over there, and they
before you start dealing, he's like, I'm dealing over here, and 25, 50, and Helmuth. And I'm like, okay.
Let's put this in there too. Okay, Phil Hellmuth, Daniel Negreanu, Chip Jett, Prahlad Freeman, Carlos Mortensen, John Jawanda, and I'm trying to think of
Like
one more name.
everyone at
Like
the table has been on TV playing poker.
huge,
Every single one.
big name. So I am absolutely pooping my pants thinking about this. And so we go and we deal this game, and so we're dealing, and I'm watching these hands go by, and they're, raising 10, 15, 1,000 here and there. They're making big bets. And then this hand comes down, and how it was, I was supposed to deal, but anybody that watches poker right now has probably heard of Ali Najad. He's one of the poker commentators that does it. And he was there, and he says, "Hey, Alex, do you mind if I deal?" And I'm like, it's not up to me at all. And the whole table is like, "Yeah, we know Ali, don't worry, he can sit down." So he sits down at the table, and I'm standing behind him, and everybody's like, "Well, just make sure he does everything right." I'm like, "Okay." So I watch, and he deals out the cards, and it's small blind, big blind, 25-50.
I think they'd increased the blinds by then.
Yeah,
it doesn't change the game a ton, but
basically they might have been playing 5,100, but so they ended up playing, and it goes, Phil Hellmuth makes it $300, Prahlad Freeman calls, and then Carlos Mortensen makes it $3,000 on the button. And it goes around to the big blind, and the big blind was Randy Jensen. And Randy Jensen had just won the 5 Diamond Classic or one of the other tournaments at the bike, I think it was, for like 600,000. And I'll be honest, this guy was a fish. Fish. So he's in the big blind, and he 3-bets it to, I want to say it was like 13,000 or 10,000 or 12,000.
This might not be exact. We'll post the article; it'll be accurate.
Yeah,
but it's still.
So, and then it goes over to Phil Hellmuth. He mucks his hand. Prahlad Freeman mucks his hand, and then Carlos Mortensen's on the button and goes, "So, can I have my second card now?" And everybody stops and it's like, "So what?" Wait, what? And he's like, "I didn't get my other card. I was trying to bluff Phil, and I just wanted to raise him out of the hand. So can I have my second?" And I'm like, "Wait, what?" And I count down the muck, I count down everything, and it's like, no, he's missing his card. And Ali Najad was like, "Yeah, I think I forgot to deal him one." I'm like, "Okay, we'll pitch him his card." No word of lie. Look at his card, and he goes all in, 26,000. Okay, so everybody's like, "Okay, well, you must have had aces." He goes, "No, I didn't have aces." He flips over his first card. It's a jack. He's like, "I didn't have aces." And we're like, what's going on? So it goes back to Randy Jensen, and Randy Jensen goes, "Well, I call. I mean, why not? I'll call 26,000." And they go, "So do you want to run it once or twice?" And they go, "Let's run it twice." They flip the hands over, Queen Jack offsuit, and 3-6 offsuit. Yeah, I mean, why not? Those are $20,000 hands. They run the board. The 6 hits a pair. The Queen High wins a second board with Queen High.
They chop the pot at the end of the day, but it's more just
like when Carlos goes, "Can I have my second card?" I have never seen a whole table go, "What the?" You have one card? And he's like, "Yeah." And then as soon as he gets his second one, without even a blink, 26,000. And he's like, "Oh, okay, well, you must have deuces. A jack." What?
So
wait. What?
That's a good one.
Oh
Yeah.
my God. Super awesome. Oh, I love that.
That's so funny.
Oh, that's hilarious. Alex, I'm putting that on my Instagram feed for sure. It's amazing.
That's a great
Amazing
story.
story. I love it. Love it.
It was,
Yeah, that was a fun one.
Oh, man. Roxanne says, late nights were definitely the best and most fun. This broadcast makes me miss poker. See, you guys make everyone miss poker. I love your dealing and housing. I miss the stories. Yeah, so do I. This is Brett. Hi, Brett. Brandy and Jay after dark poker
Brett
parties.
M?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Yep.
Crazy. I believe Brett was the first person that served me a drink when I started.
Is that right?
I think so, yeah. And I think he was the first person I ever saw. I think he was spinning a tray. And I'm like, oh my God. I was like,
Kind of a staple back then. I loved his shoes.
Yeah.
I don't know if you remember. He used to have those wingtip.
Yeah.
I love those shoes.
Wingtip polished shoes, yeah.
Yeah, they were the best.
He was styling. He was
I
styling.
love the shoes. Yeah.
yeah, no,
I
definitely.
think you served me a drink or two too there.
Yeah, maybe. Just maybe.
Just one or two.
So we just have a group question here. So Chris asks, anytime music or a song was really memorable or so repetitive that it would annoy you, maybe a terrible band playing in the background?
I remember going from Palace to Yellowhead, and I don't know how many of you remember Yellowhead is a country themed casino. Oh my God. I don't even mind country music. My mom loves country music. I grew up on it. I don't know if it was just on a short loop or what, but man, the same song.
It was a
bad.
short loop.
Yeah, it was bad. It was a short loop.
Terrible music there. Yeah.
I remember when I was 21. First time I went on cruise ships, I was 21. So that was like 1989. So forever away. And I think it was around about the same time, Royal Caribbean, like poker came on. You know, I went on a ship like this. Oh, Royal Caribbean poker. He's like, oh, Caribbean style poker. So it's like, okay. And it was around about the time, I think, you know, like No Winter, like that stupid song, No Winter Hold 'em, No Winter Fold 'em. And people would sing it all the time. I was like, you understand, this isn't real poker. This is a stupid game that you're going to lose. Stop singing that to me. And it always, our name tag at the time used to say like John, and underneath it would say Croupier. So everyone had the same. So it'd be like Jay, Croupier. And they all thought we were related. But no, we go like doing 3 and 4 day cruises. And I was like, dude, man, the guy's Filipino. How is he related to me? Do you know what I mean? And they'd be like, are you married? No, I'm not. No, you don't, you know.
Oh
yeah, so that song still to this day drives me crazy. It's like, oh my God, Caribbean style poker is not poker.
You know what? I think for me, and I had to look it up just now who sang it. I wasn't quite sure, but the song "Let It Ride" by BTO drove me batty. Seriously, it just drove me nuts. Not only with the game, but the song itself. It just drives me nuts to this day. I gotta change the radio station if I hear it. There's no way I can listen to that.
Mine isn't like a song or anything, but our craps table when we had it was right outside the poker room, and our poker room has these giant holes in the wall for some reason. They're like fancy or whatever. There's this slot machine that says more chilies just constantly all the time. And now and so we had to hear it all the time on craps. And then when I got into poker, it was like happened all the time. And whenever it comes on, I just constantly say it like nonstop. It just gets stuck in my head all the time. I always walk by like my old like crew team, and I just say more chilies, and they just hate me. They're like, shut up. I cannot stand this. And we just yell it at each other until one of us wants to die. It's great. But I hate it.
For me, the one, like when I was on the ships, it was Daft Punk One More Time. That was the best song ever, and I always listen to it, and it's my favorite song even now. And for our casinos, like in Edmonton, there was one period where I was working for Palace and Baccarat, and the Emeralds came in. So then they would come in, and then like I was at Palace, and one night they were there. Then I would work like the next night, and they were at Baccarat. And then Mike, when I left, I went to Argyle, and the second week in, they were the entertainment there. So it's like 3 times. 3 times I heard the Emeralds and dance. And yeah, every year they would come in. And at first I was like, oh my God, kill me now. But now it's like, I kind of miss it. I kind of miss it a little bit. Are you looking at the comments, John? Like you're ready to pull them up.
Oh, no, this was Roxanne. The police and Sting have ruined my name. Players always singing that stupid Roxanne.
That would be
Yeah.
I get
I really like that song, but admittedly it was like really old. Here's another one. So this is it's Chris. He says, the reason I ask is one year I was doing midway games and the ride across from us, Eminem without me every time. Oh my God.
Oh.
And then he also says, I heard 2 trailer park girls going outside like 1,500 times in 17 days.
That's pretty bad.
To be honest, I think there should be laws against that. I think it was like, that sounds like it was, like cruelty.
Yeah.
So
That's pretty cruel.
I just have to tell this story, and only because you brought up Kirby and Stud, John. And I can guarantee almost everybody here has a story about this. But did you guys ever have a player that had that superstition that they did when they were playing their Kirby and Stud? I had one guy that would put a chip in his mouth and then put it in the dollar thing and spin it. Oh, God.
Should not have allowed that.
We got about his 4th or 5th one in, and I'm like, do I have to pull this out? And I think it was, I don't want to say who the pit boss was, but they were like, no, that shouldn't be happening. Sir, can you please stop that? He's like, but it's my good luck.
Oh, God.
So wrong.
Good story, Henny.
I'm not putting that one on the Instagram feed, Alex. I'll just put the first one on.
And I always thought it was gross when people would kiss the dice. Like, I always thought that was nasty.
Yeah.
But that's way worse. The lipstick is way worse.
I have another good one too, if you want to hear it. It's when we had slot. Did you ever work in the casino when they had like change in the slot machines by chance? Like when coins were in the slot? Yeah.
Me.
Yeah.
Danny, you.
Yeah. So the rest of us all worked in the casino when we had change in our cups. There was a couple that was walking and they had a cup that they were playing their nickel slots. And the hubby says, "Oh, well, you want half my beer? Here, hun." Wipes it out and pours half a beer into the cup. And then goes, "Here, hun, have the butt." And he drinks out of his coin cup.
Oh, my God. It's so gross.
No!
There's like, so that we, when I was working at like Cowboys Casino, it was like during Stampede, there's a bunch of young drunk kids and they were like having their beer sitting on the side with these cup holders. And our pit boss came up and said, "Sir, can you please put your drink in the cup holder?" So he pours his drink into the cup holder. And we were like, "No, that's not what we meant. Please stop that, please." It was so funny.
No. Just no. Not allowed.
Oh my God. Oh, well, hey, what a great discussion, guys.
The nasty things players do.
Who's hungry?
We could have like a 24-hour episode just talking about it. Like,
Yeah.
No, okay. So here's one. I'm gonna say there was a casino that most of us worked at together, and there was like back in the day when there was coin, there was like someone that worked in slots, and she would be doing a lot of the change, and she'd be doing a lot of the coin, and she'd flip it all stuff, and you could see on break her hands were black.
Yeah.
He or she, and this person would be eating a sandwich, and you could see like the black hands. It was just like, wow.
Yeah.
Guess you don't care anymore, right? So it's like, sure.
Yeah.
But to be honest, I mean, do you remember like you used to get like the blackjack dirt, and it was always like the one side of your hand, like when you're scooping the cards up, and it was always like nasty. After a while, you're like, it's clean dirt. I got, like, and then you're like, I've only got 15 minutes. I got to smoke. I got to drink. I got to eat. I got to complain, and I got to go. I have no time to wash my hands.
No time for hand washing. That's it.
I was on high limit. It's clean enough. I mean,
I say now. We used to have this when the first casino I worked in. We had this guy, and he was like a bodybuilder, and he was so juiced up, and he like everybody knew it. He was taking like steroids, and he was kind of crazy. And like he'd come in, and because he would leave like his workout bag on the floor, like next to his locker. And he would have all his, like, he'd have pop. For some reason, he still liked pop. But he had tons of pop in it. So when he wasn't on a break, he was so like, always angry. We would shake the hell out of his cans. And then we put him back in. And then we were like, every break, we come down, we shake him all up and put him. And then it was just, honest to God, if he was on a break and you see, and it would obviously blow up. He would destroy shit in the casino room. He was so funny. He was like, oh my God. Like, oh my God. He literally, I think he broke the coffee machine about 5 times. Covered like, ah! It was like, this is like free entertainment. It was awesome. But none of us would ever admit, like, oh yeah, we're like, I have no idea who's doing that. Who would do such a nasty thing to your pop can? But like all of us were doing it because it was so much fun.
Oh man, that's funny.
Oh dear God. Oh God. I just wanted to go back to the tables and the quality of tables. I just wanted to say that that's probably the reason why I started to hate poker so much. And, you know, when I first started dealing, I thought it was amazing, you know, and then going to like Yellowhead, because at the time when Yellowhead first opened, they were like the place, right? They had all the games, they stole all the action, and they were amazing. And the dealers were good. And, you know, we were talking about Limit and then the transition. I was there when it kind of shifted over from like Hold'em to Omaha, because it was like a half game, and that 4-8 game was just crazy there. Mm-hmm. And you could see the dealers and the really good ones when they were doing the pitch, it was just like automatic, like a machine gun when you'd see the cards go out. I loved it. I was like, oh, I want to do that. But here we are at the Palace dealing like 3-6, and it's always been 3-6, and then more 3-6 and more 3-6. And I just remember like being on the table, I'm like, oh, I want to like be able to pitch. There is this thing, and you know what I call it? I call it hand clay, because it was just this layer of like gray on the table. And when I tried to like pitch a card, it would stop. It wouldn't go anywhere. I'm like, how's this working? I don't get it. Yeah. And it was just, if there's anything that bothered me, it was the hand clay on the tables, and it was the cards being so bent because we didn't have any good quality cards. That was the worst thing I hated. And it gave me all this pain in like my forearms. And I was just like, I don't know if I can do this anymore.
But then once they finally changed the felt, you're so used to having to pitch so hard that like afterwards you're pitching the cards and they're like flying everywhere. You're not used to it at all. And I'm like, I swear I'm not a beginner. I swear I'm used to having a clean table.
Well, was it Palace that went to the suede felts at one point?
Yeah.
Those were the worst. Like I'm pretty sure it was Palace, and I think it was when the poker room ended up at the back, like not long after. Maybe it might have been the first felts they had. I don't remember.
They were terrible.
You couldn't pitch. Like wherever it landed, that's where it stayed, right? Like so it was. That was the worst.
Yeah,
I hated that felt.
I wonder if that was around about the same time. They redid the craps table, and the underlay they put on it was so like bouncy. Literally every second roll was like, no roll, it's off the table. And we're like, okay, you see where this plunger is? Aim just past that, and it probably will not bounce off the table. Because anything further down was like, boom, up the table. It was funny as hell.
You gotta love some of those decisions, because like I remember when the poker room first went into the old slot area, and they had this great idea of opening it up and have, as a decorative piece, a giant mirror, card height around the whole poker room.
Like,
this isn't good.
Yeah, they had that at Yellowhead too when they were doing the tournaments. If you look up, you could see the cards from all around when they did it. They had to they had to like cover all of the mirrors up there, and they're like, oh, yeah, that might not be a good idea.
Do you remember how long the mirrors lasted, Mike?
Like a week or two.
It wasn't very long. Like
not very long.
Right away.
Yeah, I think it was only about a week, because I think a player complained. He came up to somebody and he was like, do you know we could see the cards when they lift them up and they can see it in the mirror? So they kind of put like that frosted stuff on it, didn't it? Remember, it was like so it was still there, but they kind of like stained it.
Yeah, I totally forgot about that. Yeah, like one guy goes and tells them, and the other 3 guys are going, "Shut up!"
Yeah.
Exactly. Yeah. I've been here 9 days. Stop telling my secrets.
I'm up $3,000 this week.
This is my best week.
Exactly. Yeah. People think I'm good.
Yeah.
That was a funny one. Good memory, Mike.
Yeah.
Oh yeah. Okay, so a couple of comments here. Roxanne says cards stuck to it like yeah. Oh yeah, Roxanne dealt a lot in that room. I remember.
Yeah.
And the reiteration of the room too, because they've always done a lot of things with that room.
They were really pretty, those felts. They were just
Yeah, you're
They
right.
looked nice, but they were terrible.
Hi, Sherry. Sherry says y'all make me miss working. Yeah, I
Hey,
miss
Sherry.
the hand clay too. Yeah, absolutely.
I was about to say, like, because like she commented that like right after we finished talking about all the gross player stories, and I was like, oh yeah, definitely miss it real good.
I don't know. I have such a love-hate relationship with poker, and it's always been like that. It pushed me sorry, John, it pushed me to like actually go into pitting. That's how bad it was, because there was a period of time when I wasn't even seeing craps, I wasn't seeing roulette, I got tiles, nothing on the floor, and it was just poker, nonstop poker, and I was just like,
right now, yeah, like right before we closed.
And see, that was my heaven. They're like, anybody want to go port me? Do you guys want to? I'm there. Hello, put me in.
It really did seem like a love-hate kind of game. You know, like people either really liked dealing it or just absolutely hated it. I always wanted to, we kind of talked about this last time, but I was on maternity leave when craps came into Edmonton. And so I missed the first class and always felt like super choked that I wasn't, there at the beginning. And I wanted to be one of the people who started, but I wasn't. And I got okay at the game, but I was never great. But poker just ended up being like an actual fit, But I was always surprised how many people hated it. I think, the players, I guess, but I don't know. We loved it.
For me, it was, as pretty much everyone knows, I was a poker player. And so I love the fact that I could sit down and play with guys that I'm going to be playing with for the next, 2, 3, 4, 5 years, where I could sit and watch them play, learn from them. And my entire poker career game evolved around watching people play. Like watching the high limit games, we're learning how to play. Like you guys all know, and I'm going to say his name because he's passed away, but Keith Dyer was one of the staples in poker, and he took me under his wing. He was like, this is how you play, and this is what you're supposed to do. As much as Jeff taught her how to, money manage and all of that, Keith taught me everything I know when it came to poker. And for me, that was every time I walked into a game, I knew it was going to be different because no one plays the same. That's what I liked about it. Blackjack, you have 15, you're not going to hit against a 2. You have 10, you're double down against a 5. That's a guarantee. In poker, everything changes every time. So that was my biggest draw to it. That's why I enjoyed it so much. The players, annoying as hell. All of you players, whoever's watching, you all were annoying, but I liked you because I got to learn from you. And thanks. I took your money.
Do you know what, though? I think those certain games, though, people are better suited. Do you know, like their personality, skill-wise, interest, whatever. I mean, like I really like craps, and I dealt a long time, and I went different places just to play it. But I met other people who had the same kind of feeling. Like, Alex, you had the same kind of feeling about poker that I did about craps. I mean, I know people who dealt like high limit baccarat, like when you used to have the paddle and the shoe, and it's like when you have 3 dealers on it, when it was like super cool, right? But it's, I think certain games people like are attracted to and want to deal it because of the the action, the players, and things like that, right?
Mm-hmm.
Oh, for sure.
Yeah, definitely.
My mom and my brother are roulette dealers through and through. You guys, everybody, whoever knows my mom and my brother, that was their game. They love that. Yeah. It had anything to do with the mind challenge of the numbers. Me, it was poker. Michelle was craps and poker, but and then Jay Lee, you were a mix of everything.
Oh my God, it's so funny to hear Jay Lee talking about you guys, and I'm like, dude, Jay Lee's the freaking king, man.
No.
His hands, nobody beats his hands. It's just beautiful.
No, I feel I'm just a little bit of everything, and I think that's it. Like I get a little bit of you guys there from poker. I get a little bit of John, and just it's a little bit of everybody because it's, I don't know. I love the game and the art and being a student of dealing. I think that's what I love about it. So I wanted to be the all games dealer, but now years and years later, I just want to be like the best teacher, right? So So first off, I have a few things to say here. Okay, so Michelle,
Yeah.
you were one of my students, and as much as what I regret was that you were in my first class ever of craps, and I sucked. I was like the worst trainer. I was like, I don't know what the hell I'm doing here. How did I get this? Because nobody else had the availability, and I ended up being the trainer. I'm like, oh well, I did my best and whatever, but you were like my top student. And it was you and Sterling, and like Sterling can say he's the best, but whatever. I'm not gonna, I'm not gonna nitpick that. But of like all of my classes, Michelle, you are definitely on my starting crew. So you're one of my top 4 dealers. I would have you on my team.
Thank you.
Now,
that's awesome. You did a great job. I learned lots from you.
Well, I mean, I got it
hard on yourself.
I think that was more you than me, really. Like, I remember that class because I went to both Sean and John, and I'm like, what the hell am I supposed to do here? freaking Sterling, man, he's like acting up. How am I supposed to like control? I was saying that to like John and Sean, and it's just like, oh my god, what's going on?
Nobody can control I think craps is a game you learn so much on the game, right? Like you do learn in training for sure, and it's an important part of the process. But I don't remember. I think we might have talked about this last time, but was it you, John? I can't remember who said this, but it was like someone was I was talking about not being good, or and whoever it was like, yeah, you suck. And I was like, and then like you're healing for 3 weeks, you suck. Like that's normal. You're gonna suck for a while, right? You got to put your time in. So I don't remember who it was. I thought it might have been John, but I don't remember. But I was like, someone saying, yeah, you suck. And I was like, oh, that's not what I was expecting at all.
But you do, like literally my crap, like, when I, not you personally, I wasn't there, but I mean, but I mean, like me, I think I had 7 hours training on craps. I basically knew how to play it, and they threw me on this table. It was like, okay, these people are going to eat you alive, and the dealers are going to be worse. I was like, okay. And yeah. So for the first year, they just tortured me every day. We used to have people be like, please don't put me on dice. I don't want to do it. I just don't want to do it. And like we go, like we had a sheet, you know what I mean? Like, and it'd say where you were that night. And I'd be like, oh my God, I'm on dice. And instantly start sweating. You know what I mean? It's like, oh my God, I have 8 hours of torture. They're going to make my life hell.
Yeah. You know what? I remember my first shift on dice, and I thought I did pretty well in the class. I had a good grasp of the game and everything, and I had decent hands. They weren't great, but they were decent. I understood everything, and I got the stick my first time. I got the stick, and I can't remember who my boxman. It wasn't you, John. You weren't the boxman, but I want to say it might have been Bubba. My first time. I come up. It's a busy game. I relieve. I can't even remember what. I was so nervous. I don't know if you remember the player. I won't use last names because I don't know it anyways, but I don't know if you remember the player, Darren. I get on stick and he just shows me this pile of chips that I try to catch and do horribly at it. My action. And it was like an $8, $12, a $6 yo, 3 on the 4. And I'm just like, and then like a midnight came and I'm like, I don't know. I was like, try to work it out. I'm like, no. The answer.
I think Darren used to own like a liquor store. Remember, he used to own a liquor store, and he used to come in every night, and he'd have like the free promo T-shirts. Like he never. I was like, dealt to him for 5 years. I never saw anything that wasn't like a giveaway with it, like from the liquor store. Like cause lines. Like was like, do you have any other clothes? No. I gamble.
That's it.
It was like every day was like, my God. Yeah, that was his wardrobe, the freebies.
That's so funny.
That's amazing.
Roxanne says, sorry, let me jump in here. I love poker, but I did regret that I lost my skills of dealing all the floor games. And Bubba taught me craps. Yeah, I love Bubba. My biggest regret was not getting to deal it more, as I was always in poker. So, okay, I just want to say something, get it straight, because we're on the podcast and we're recording, but it wasn't that I hated poker. I just hated the fact that that table was not maintained and the cards weren't really good. If you had like new cards and a new felt, I would love poker forever. But just having that struggle, like every single hand trying to shuffle a deck of cards, is just frustrating. And I hated just doing that for 8 hours, right? It just bothered me so much. And even now, like I said last season, I talked to John, like my hands are so dry. And Mike, you can attest to it because like obviously we work in the hospital and you always sanitize. I can't even pull a card out of a baccarat shoe right now. Like that's how bad it is, right? So then like you put me on baccarat, I'm like, holy fuck, I can't do this. Like I'm trying to take a card out. And it was like, give me my cards. And I'm like, I can't. So like I'm like the guy. Yeah, I'm the guy that has that little thing, right? With the I don't know that you use for
the
like
little finger rolly thing.
not the little. It's at like Staples. I don't know. Someone showed me this, and it's like it makes your fingers a little bit sticky. It's like you're counting money. It's like one of those little petri dishes.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
It's different. They're like, it's like a little pink gloss type thing.
Yeah. So to Roxanne's comment, she says that her regret's not getting to deal it more. Yeah, you know what? My regret is not dealing more poker. Like I would have enjoyed it, and honestly, I love dealing tournament, which is kind of weird, but I think it's because I don't have to do the calculations of like commission or anything. I think it's fun.
It's fun. I like tournament. I love tournament.
Yeah.
He did it.
Yeah, but I'll talk with Danny at some point, but I have no idea how to deal pot limit at all. Like,
okay, well, I don't know how to deal tournament, so we can trade information.
Yeah,
I was thrown into one tournament. But I didn't show up to the training because I didn't want to do it, and then they threw me in anyways, and I was like, "Wait, what?" I was like, "No, I don't want to do it. I don't know."
Jay, I was gonna say, before when we had home games, and I don't know if anybody ever went to the Argyle home games where we had competitions on who could pitch the farthest from leaning back in your chair, half drunk and maybe other intoxicated as possibly as you could be. But when you're talking about pitching, I actually loved when my tables were dirty, like what you're talking about with hand clay and that, because for me that became a challenge for you to pitch, and you got better at pitching the cards out. And I mean, you became a skill of where you'd put it right in front of your player rather than worrying about it skipping across and landing in front of the player. So you try to bounce it off of their chips. That's what it became for me. So when you say that was like your worst, that was my favorite part. Give me the dirtiest table possible, as long as it's not like really dirty right in front of me, because
that's what I'm talking about, right? I couldn't even pick up the cards. I had you have to take a card to scoop up the other card.
Yeah,
right.
Yeah. So, you take a cut card and slide it under, and you're like, okay, well, that's cool. But for me, that was my favorite because you got to actually pitch the card out rather than skip it to somebody.
Mm-hmm.
So,
no, you were over at my house at one point, and Mike, you know as well how this game was. When I was doing these, I was obsessed with poker. I had this really long period of loving poker and trying to do something creative with it. And I just remember building all of these tables, and I would go to Fabricland and get like the slickest felt. And I remember the first time, like when we actually had a table, it was just like this big 4 foot by 8 foot board, and we just put like the slickest thing, and then we had like 15 people playing, like it was 1-3 limit, and then we would pass the deck around, and even the guy in the corner would be like pitching it. It would go all the way like 8 feet across the corner. That was so fun. It was just trial and error, but yeah, I mean, for me that was like, oh, this is what I wanted, right? And then I'd go to like work and I'd be like, oh my god, I can't do this. This is ridiculous. Carpal tunnel is like, oh, it's real. It's not fake. So yeah.
Don't risk it.
So guys, sorry, does anyone else, do you have any other questions to the cast for Michelle?
I just want to know like which was your favorite poker game to deal versus like playing? Were they different? Like, do you like to deal a specific game of poker, and which is it the same as what you like to play?
For me, it's the same. PLO, like any limit of PLO, I will play it, and I will I love dealing it. The fact of where I always liked where it challenged you, and for me, when I'm playing PLO, it was always a challenge for me, and it's funny because I made all my money in that game. I'm sure of it, and I lost all my money in that game too. I'm sure of it, but but also it was, and like Roxanne says in one of the comments there, PLO was the only time poker felt like work. For me, it was the only time poker felt like it was something fun for me because I got to use my mind, right? Like when you're dealing 1-2 no limit, it's $5 rake, that's easy. Then you're done. But when somebody says pot, and you're like, ×4, carry the 7, put in the doll. What is the number? You're like, wait a second. But that's what I really enjoyed because that really stimulates my mind for me. And I got so bored of no limit hold'em because the pot, somebody makes it $15, you get 4 callers, and you're at your $5 rake, and you're like, oh, that was fun. That was
fun. And Alex was way better at pot limit than I was, but it was always fun dealing pot limit because there wasn't a ton of pot limit in Edmonton. Like there was some, but not a ton. But it was always fun, like because there's a lot of dealers who dealt that game who weren't very good, right? Yeah. It can be a tough game to deal, especially if you don't care, right? Like you're like, this is just hard and I don't care. It's hard to get better at it. But like it's like bet, raise, and then someone goes pot, and you're like 568, right? And everyone's like, what? Like you do it in 3 seconds, right? And it's like getting a roulette call really fast, right? Like a number in roulette really fast. But in pot limit, at the time, I don't know about now, but back then there wasn't a ton of dealers who were really strong at pot limit. So he was definitely the king. But it was just like 568, and everyone's like, how many?
The players are sitting there like trying to like, are you sure that's right? Or are you just saying a random number?
Because that's what it looks like, right? But he's got it down, like just like we don't, any other game that we're strong at. He's so good. So for me, I like all games. I like the technique behind poker more than the game itself. Like pitching, like not just pitching, but pitching to the exact right spot, right? And like dealing the hand as fast as you can while still following the rules, not rolling your deck, and like all the kind of technique that goes along with poker. A lot of people don't consider that poker has technique, but it does, right? So that's what I really liked about the game. Playing my favorite game, and this is like a specific time and place. I'm more of a limit player just because I never really got into no limit. It was the 6-call game at Baccarat in the late 90s. That was my favorite game. I love that game.
Yeah.
Like a game.
Michelle, one of the things that I completely agree with you when you said about the technique about dealing a certain game. Like in all honesty, if I watch somebody deal poker, I'll be like, I have no idea what was good or bad, whatever. I can obviously say like the guy has no idea. He's like, I'm just randomly guessing a number. But I think that's lost on all of the games. Do you know, like there was all the game, there's a skill set. I mean, some of the best blackjack dealers I ever saw. I mean, I was like, blackjack can be like a really cool game, and like see how elegant they are and how they use the tools they have. And it's like, I mean, like we look at it, blackjack's like a dopey game. We're like, oh my God, it's the first game we deal and like break all the cards. But sometimes you see a blackjack dealer like, oh my God, this person is amazing. And then also all the best blackjack dealers I ever saw were women. And I was like, I was terrible at it, to be honest. I was like, I have to do this until I have to go on to something else. But I think that's the challenge is a lot of these games, there's in it, like the best games, like blackjack and all, not the prop games. There's a built-in skill there that when you deal it, you're like, oh my God, this guy's so good, or this girl is so good. And I think that's the challenge that we don't see anymore, that skill set is kind of, gradually
trying to
be that.
Yeah. I got to give a shout out to my sister-in-law, Chrissy. She is the best blackjack dealer I ever saw. Mark's wife. She's awesome. But you're so right. Like poker is not just pitching well, right? Craps is not just stick calls and good hands, right? Like there's so much. Pai-Gow is not just stacking the tiles. Like there's so much to each game. There's more than just the one thing that seems to be important.
It's so true. And like once I became a pit boss, I realized how much like like the beauty of the games means to me, because when I'm looking at other people deal, like it drives me nuts if I see like really sloppy cards, or I see people like just not caring about like anything that they're doing. It's something that really bothers me because I care so much about it, and how beautiful
it's those things you notice, especially when you first start pitting. I think it's the things you notice about dealers. It's where their shoulders are facing, how their hands are turned, like where they're pitching, like how things are landing, right? It just, the smoothness that you see of good dealers, you're just like, wow, you appreciate it a lot more.
Mm-hmm.
Like, and I think one of the, it looks like they're going slow, but they're so fast. Like it's so fast, it looks like they're going slow.
Yeah.
It's just so smooth. And it's funny that you say that too, because you pick up on certain little things, like you said, the placement of cards. For me, when you're watching a really good poker dealer, if they can pitch to the one seat or their whatever their hand is with the card without actually using their card, and they just flick the card off, because we would all do it. You know, you'd flick the one in the two seat, you could almost flick your card off without actually pitching. You just flick. And if you can see that, you're like, oh, wait a second, you're a dealer. Like you can, it clicks to you right away, and you're like, okay, they try something a little bit better because they want to get that little bit smooth.
Mm-hmm.
Because you can, instead of pitching that card off, if you can automatically flip that card off and you're already starting your action, that saves that 1 second, and people didn't realize it. But when you saw dealers that would do that, you're like, oh, okay, you get it.
It was always about saving like half seconds. Right? It was always
Yeah. Now, I do want to say that I know we're saying like not the prop games, but actually there's technique in the prop games too, because I have seen some amazing dealers, and even though they're just dealing prop games, I mean they're still pretty good and smooth. So I think there's technique in like every single game, and
sure.
I think what I'm proud of is like everything that I've learned has been from everybody else, right? So it's like, you know, like what John did in Dice was like, okay, well, I got a little bit of that. I'm not John, obviously, but then like, you know, I can name people like, you know, your brother, like Will, amazing Will, and then Todd, and like Bubba was a good dealer. Like we're talking about like, you know, like your mom too, she was great, right? So then like, and I remember, because I'm not going to ever give her exact partials, right? So like there's things that you pick up along the way and you never forget. So it's like, okay, this is how she deals, and it's just about learning that technique and everything. So I mean, like Payao Tiles, there was like Joe and Arden and Sean, not Sean, but the other Sean, you know, so these guys were amazing dealers, and they were kind of like the pioneers, right? And to kind of learn some of their techniques, I think that's what makes it awesome. And look, you know, we have Danny here, and Danny is like a unicorn because she's learned all the games. And to your point, guys, you're right. Like there isn't a lot of that anymore where people actually care about, you know, this is a smooth way of dealing. It's just like, give me my tips, and I just want to EO, and I don't care, right? Yeah. This is a means to an end, so it sucks.
I find though that like a lot of us that we like originally when we dealt and whatever, it was because, you know, like we wanted to be really good at what we did, and you know, like most of us now have left, and I think that, you know, mentality has stayed with us, right? You know, whatever job we're doing or whatever role we're doing, we just want to be really good at what we did, right? And I kind of like think that's, you know, that was, I don't know if it's a personality thing or whatever, but I mean, like, it's just stayed with us as we move through progressions through different things, right? And it's sadly, I mean, like now when you go and see dealers, I Googled like chip cutting on YouTube. It was the worst thing I ever did. It was like, oh my God, chip cut. And I saw these people, I saw these like, I was like, are the people teaching you how to chip cut? I was like, I spent 5 minutes shouting, and I was like, dope. My boys were like, why did you do it, Dad? I was like, don't do that again. Never Google chip cutting on YouTube. It's terrible. I was like, yeah, I slapped. I was like, no, it was just terrible. It's all wrong.
Oh my
That's
God,
hilarious. Oh my God.
So guys, there's another question here from Brad. He's asking, how did you deal with players blaming you for the cards?
Well, I absolutely, that was my favorite thing. If And I would tell my players, absolutely, I'm controlling the cards because I just want you to lose. Because it makes it so much better because you're not going to give me any money if you lose. So, hey, you'll just leave. If I had the power to give you money, don't you think I would do it? And they're like, well, no, because you don't tip whenever. So what does it matter? Like,
I think by the end, I just didn't say anything.
So you kind of just move on to the next guy.
Yeah.
That's for
Yeah,
sure.
I just don't even respond. It's like I don't have time for that.
It's like, okay, your action. What's up?
Exactly.
You really think I care about you? No, I don't.
Like if you think that I'm affecting the card, like if you're blaming me for the cards you have, I can't help you, right? Like there's nothing I can say that's going to satisfy you.
That is so funny.
If it was someone I didn't know, I'd be like, "Is this your first day in casinos?" like really?
I always find it with new players. Like players will get so upset when like some guy comes off the floor on a Friday night and is like doesn't know what he's doing. They get so mad. I'm like, dude, that's the guy you want playing. Like, what are you getting mad about? Like, I never understood that.
He's there to give your money away. That's it. Just take his money. Hey.
I had one guy playing poker. He thought he had blackjack. I'm like, dude.
I remember my favorite story. Remember Gumby?
Yep.
Yeah.
I remember I was on craps one night. It was like a Friday night, Saturday night, I can't remember. And anyway, he came over and he was like really drunk. And he was, like he was a cool guy, funny as hell. And he just come from poker. And he goes, I just made the poker players mad. And I was like, well, what do you do? I'm sitting box. He goes, every time I won a hand, I gave half of it as a tip. And he goes, the players are so mad. I won like 3 or 4 hands and just gave half of it as a tip. He just didn't care. And it was so funny. I remember Danny, he was a huge guy. And and he was being in casinos forever and he was super smart and he was super funny.
That's hilarious.
And the thought of him doing it, like he was like, yeah, I can see you doing that. It was so funny.
That's so funny.
He could have one-handed half the pot and just put it there. He had
Gubby would do that. He would do that like all the time too. He'd come in late at night and late night poker, and he would be corked. And he's like, half the pot for you. Thanks, Gumby. Get this going.
Oh, he's so funny. I remember one time, sorry, this is just the craps. It was the same, I think might have been the same night, might have been different anyway. He's corked again. He's at one end of the craps table. There's a guy, Al. Remember Al, the farmer? He's at the other game and he's got his, he was so proud of it. He was like this orange jacket on and whatever. He looked kind of swanky. And Gumby turned around, he went, tell that guy in the life jacket to get his hand out of the dice table. and like it was like, oh my, we all laughed, it was so funny. And Al never wore that jacket again. Never saw him again.
No, John, he did, because that was the only time someone said something about his orange jacket, right? There was this young kid that was playing, and they were playing together. And this kid, like, he hit his point, and he's like, pylon, give me 5. That's the best. And then he didn't after that.
Amazing.
Oh, so good. Oh my God. I just wanted to say, Mike, just a few minutes ago when you were doing like the complaining, you sounded like that guy. There's like a video of this guy on TikTok and he like works at the IKEA. And then he always like, I don't know if you guys, oh my God. It's like, oh, you're going to take your business somewhere else? Well, that's good. I don't want 5 more of you around here. Like,
I'm halfway through my 2 weeks notice.
Yeah, that's amazing. Amazing. Yeah, Mike, you sounded like that guy. You know what, guys? This is so much fun. I'm assuming that you guys. We'd love to have you on again. If you guys are cool with, yeah, of course. Okay, good.
Hey, let us know when.
We'll throw you on for sure. Maybe you guys can do. How's your Paigal? Because we could use some.
I was like, whenever you guys had the Paigal, I was like, I don't know if I remember the rules.
Okay,
like
but
I know what I have,
them.
but I would never be sure about like the ones that are not obvious.
I need to feel them. I can't.
Well, fine. You know what I can do, Alex? We can do this over like the span of a year, where I mail you the tile, and then you can steal it and then send it back.
Be like a 5-minute segment on every show, right? Alex's
Yeah, Alex's tile 1 to 4.
Give me a second. I'm opening up my package from Jay for this week. It's this tile. I've got to. I'm not telling you.
I go unboxed it.
I'm not
I
telling
think
you
it's
what
out. Pie Gal by correspondence. It's like the best game ever.
Whenever Jay opens the tiles for us, he always pulls 2 tiles forward that are supposed to go together. So you basically already know what you're supposed to be. Because then a lot of the people, because a lot of time we just look at it, we're like, yeah, like that. Just
That's true.
It's funny. I've watched you a few times when you've done that, Jay, and I've been like, no. 5-6, 5-6, 1-7-9. Don't. Gamble.
It's funny because when all of us are playing and we all get a different hand, everybody's kind of loud, and then you'll get a hand that you're not really sure of, and you're like, yeah, it's similar to that. Yeah.
Houseway.
Yep, that way.
Houseway.
You know what? Well, I have, okay, so since all of us are here, and you know, the whole cast is here, I do have a plan on actually bringing craps on as a live stream, and because we have a poker guest here, I'm also going to bring a heads up table where 2 people can just play against each other for fun. And I bought like 40 decks from the dollar store, and I have to like pre-shuffle all of them, and then if you guys are playing one-on-one, you just pick a deck from like a whole list of like 40 of them, and then I just deal it out because I have no time to shuffle. I've been thinking about this nonstop.
I'm fish, but but if it's just heads up, I think I could do it.
Yeah, but
Interesting.
you know, it's like a domestic battle, you know, things like that. That's what we want to kind of solve, right? So
I'm terrible at shorthanded.
So we got a couple more minutes here. I wanted to say one more thing, and then you guys can all have the floor after. But there was a period of time, and like I think the only person that really knows how much I went through was Mike, and you know, like we kind of started in the casino together, went on the ships, you went on the ships, and then when I ended up coming back to the Palace, you know, we had some friends and we did poker. We did a lot of poker. I absolutely loved it. We had our home games and stuff, and it was fun and it was amazing. And then it kind of stopped because I ended up being single again, and it was tough because I kept this house. And, you know, it's really personal, but I really wanted to kind of bring this up because there's a reason, of course. I had a hard time paying the mortgage on this house because at the time I was a coordinator and I was making, I think my net, like I'll be honest, was $1,300. That was my net biweekly, and my mortgage payment was $1,050. So my back was against the wall. And of course, my parents would bail me out every now and then, but I ended up turning to poker. And you know, I think a lot of what I did and pulling myself up from that was I attribute a lot to you guys, honestly, because before that, and it's not just it's you guys and Mark and Mike and everybody that I got to play with, all the people in Grand Prairie, because they're the ones that taught me Omaha. But learning the game and like the discipline, Michelle, you're the one that actually showed me Super Systems, and you had this silver book, right? And it was like, yeah, this is the book. And I read it, and it just kind of changed my game completely. It was you, it was Jeff O'Donnell, watching Alex play. I mean, it was just about, you know, the personalities and dealing with people. I ended up going to Yellowhead at like 11 p.m. and I would do like 12 to 17 hours just to pay for my mortgage, right, and everything else. So, and I think if it wasn't for like the discipline that you guys had, and Adrian, of course, and all the people that played 3-6 that were amazing, I probably wouldn't have made it. Honestly, I probably wouldn't have survived through that whole period of time. So I owe you guys a lot, and you guys might not realize that, but I do owe you guys so much. And you know, that's why poker has always been a part of me, even though I usually don't show too much of it. But yeah, it means so much. So thank you.
Cool, Jay. Thanks for sharing that, man. I had no idea.
Yeah.
And Jay, it was all us guiding you on how it's supposed to be. That was we all had to do with it. That's what it was. All of us is giving you something, and you've given us all something. Because I'll be honest, I've never seen somebody with slicker hands than you, and I strive to be half as good.
Man,
half as good.
That's from everybody else, though. Like I said, and the whole reason we do this channel, everything that I've learned was from somebody else. Everyone taught me something from when I started, and I've always like picked whatever I could, and then I'm passing it down to everybody else.
I think that's what's so cool about our crew. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like from our, like there's a lot of connection you have with even people you didn't work with, but like the people we worked with at the Palace in that time frame, it was just like, I mean, we talked about this last time, but it was just awesome. Like it was just awesome to work with so many people who cared about like the betterment of the game and making themselves the best. And you say you learn from other people. We all learned a bit from each other about everything, right? Like, because we all cared about that stuff. It was real. It was a real community. It was a really good crew.
Yeah, you can learn something from anybody there, right? Like if just a little thing, but you could learn something from anybody, and it would make you a better dealer.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
but I mean, to be honest, I think we were all like, when dealing wise, we're all kind of a collection of somebody else's experiences, right? I mean, like I learned it craps whatever and when I back in Wales, and most of the shit that I saw there, and then I traveled a lot and I learned bits and bobs, and then I ended up in Canada. I mean, that was just a collection of stuff I learned, and then I was like, oh, this is kind of cool. How about I change it? Basically, it's like cooking, right? We all learn a different recipe, and it's like, oh, I'm going to add this because I think that I do this way, right? We're all kind of dealing it's the same recipe, but we're all just adding our own little bit of spice to it, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
that's true. That's true. All right. Okay, well, yeah. See, I poured my heart out here and talk about
That's a good way to end, though.
my poker life. Oh, I love poker life.
Nicola.
Nicholas says, so many of my favorite memories come from Palace. Such a great crew.
Absolutely. Yeah, 100%.
Absolutely.
Yeah, there was a lot of great people in the Palace.
Who is that? Who is that?
That's my brother.
I was pretty sure that was your brother.
Yeah, thanks.
Your brother actually, like, talk about pouring your heart out. Your brother had a pretty big impact actually on me. I'm not going to tell the story because it's I don't want to tell it, but yeah, he had a big impact on me towards when I left Palace and went to Yellowhead. So he was very honest with me, which I appreciated.
Oh, that's good.
Yeah,
I love your family. Both of your families as one family is amazing. So I love it. I love it.
We talked about that last time we went through, like you had Colin on, was it a couple weeks ago? Mm-hmm. He's my cousin, right? Yep. And someone mentioned Brandy and Jay. Brandy's my cousin, so now Todd's my cousin. Mark and his wife work there. My mom worked there. Your mom, your brother.
My cousin, my aunt, my uncle.
It's so ridiculous how much of our family, like specifically like at Palace, like not just Edmonton, but at Palace. Yeah.
Yeah.
Craziness.
So cool.
Talking of Mark, so who is going to be like, you're an Oilers supporter. I'm pretty sure Mark's going to be supporting the Habs tonight. Are you going to heckle him at any point?
I don't know. So Mark is a Habs fan. There's no question. But he's an Oilers fan.
Yeah.
So I don't know, I don't remember. I think he still cheers for the Oilers when we play the Habs. I could be wrong.
I think he's always.
When he was younger, we definitely had some heckle battles for sure. But now not as much. He's a pretty big Oilers fan. It's just a special place in his heart for the Habs.
Yeah. Oh. Well, yeah, we're gonna have to ask him. I think. Yeah. Cool. Okay. Well, it is. We went over 3 minutes. We started a little late. I know it's 8:07, but so first off, Tales from the Casino Pit cast. Is there any final shout outs? Anything you want to say to Michelle and Alex?
You know what, guys? Thank you so much. It's always a blast having you guys on. And Michelle, we're coming up. Obviously, well, we're at the 20th anniversary, so I think we got to make another car trip. at some
100%.
point, and bring the kid beside you too. So
We
we'll take a
definitely
trip to
once we
Vegas.
travel again. We gotta play that would be a blast.
Yeah, yes. You're guys a chauffeur. I don't mind.
I just want
Awesome.
to say thanks, Scott. Thanks so much for being on. I feel like this is the most I've actually talked during these Wednesday things, and so thank you guys for making it so comfortable. And I will definitely challenge you to the heads up poker.
Awesome.
Woo!
I'm
All right.
there anytime.
That'd be fun. Okay, John.
My dog's barking, so I'm going to be real quick. Michelle and Alex, it's so great to see you again. I loved it last time you were on. I really enjoyed it again. It's so much fun talking to you guys. You literally are if people don't know you, they're such a great couple. So thanks a lot for coming on.
Thanks.
Thank you so much, you guys.
Nice.
Yeah.
You know, back at with you, it's such a joy. It's a pleasure. We're happy to come again. Yeah, for sure.
You send me a message. I'm here anytime. And anytime you want to put a poker game on here, I might be game. I mean,
Well, yeah, you'd be my first choice for sure. So thank you so much. So I'm so blessed to have known you guys. Well, everybody. I mean, but yeah, I love you guys. You guys are amazing. So thank you so much. Thanks for being on. Thanks for being a part of this. I'm just, thanks for everything over the years. I'm so happy that you're here, you know, and I always will want to have you guys on. So I love the stories, and I can't wait to hear more. So
I got more anytime you need them.
Yeah.
perfect. Okay, guys, any final shout outs to anybody out there?
Oilers, go Oilers!
Go Oilers!
I'm trying to do a shout out because I'm gonna miss somebody. So we're
Thanks everybody for watching, for listening.
Yeah.
Oilers too.
Okay. All right, guys. All right. So thanks everyone being online. Thanks for watching. Thanks for the guys that stayed the whole time. Perfect. You know, like, you guys are amazing. Love ya. Okay. Have a great one. Hopefully the game
See you
goes
guys.
well.
Yeah.
Go football.
Bye. See you guys.
Bye.
See you guys.